Good morning, everybody. Skylar Callen here on Between the Ears of Mountaineers Now, a Sports Illustrated Fan Nation channel. Bob Huggins, we're going to talk about it. There's not much else going on in the WVU world right now. Baseball team's having a great season, but we'll save that for tomorrow. I believe Chris and Julie will have your WVU weekly baseball update. So today we're going to talk about Bob Huggins. What in the hell? I mean, what is going on? Yesterday, I'm sitting there wrapping up work for the day, about to throw some steaks on the grill, about to chill out, just have a nice evening, watch some baseball, and then all of a sudden I look down, see my phone, and there's a bunch of notifications, and it's all about Bob Huggins. So, yeah, interesting stuff that comes out yesterday. Unfortunate. Again, if you haven't realized what happened or you don't know what happened, Bob Huggins was on a local radio station in Cincinnati yesterday. He called in, and actually, I don't even know if he called in. It sounded like they called him, and it was it didn't. I don't know if it was a prearranged interview or not, but I'll get back to that in a second. But anyways, Huggins ended up using a homophobic slur in reference to Xavier fans. Xavier, obviously, a school that he has not liked throughout the years because of his time at Cincinnati. And it definitely got legs and is not a good look for Bob Huggins or WVU at this point. So if you haven't, again, heard the interview, you can check it out on our site of Mountaineers Now, or go on to Twitter, and the interview is up there as well. It's about a 2-minute long clip, and it's very, very the language was used in the 2-minute clip. So putting that warning out there. But going back to the interview again, I don't know if this was a prearranged interview. And again, this is something that Ren Baker, the WVU athletic director, and other administrators of WVU are going to have to figure out and do some fact digging here because, and I'm sure they probably already know that part of it, but it didn't seem like it was a pre-arranged interview because of the way the interview began or the way the conversation began. The radio host, after Huggins picked up the phone or initiated the conversation, Huggins just said hello. Like, it didn't sound like that was something that he would just say when being on a show. Normally they would introduce you, and you have the little couple of seconds of interview banter, but it was just a hello, like answering the phone. And then the host says, "You're on air." So I think they were telling him he was on the interview or on the radio station and he was live, but who knows? Who knows if that was prearranged or not? It didn't sound like it was prearranged, and if it wasn't, that's a problem. That could be a problem for the radio station. That could be a problem for WVU. It could be a problem for Huggins. There's a lot of things that goes on there. Again, I'm not trying to jump to any sort of conclusions or anything. I'm just saying that's what it sounded like when you go back and listen to it. And I listened to it probably 100 times, and about halfway through the 100 times, I was like, you know what, this sounds off. Like something sounds weird about this. I don't know. There was some talk about it maybe AI generated, which when I saw those rumors starting to float on Twitter, I was like, you know what? Maybe it is AI generated. Like it doesn't sound right. It doesn't even sound like him at certain parts of the interview. It sounds segmented in a way, or like he was on a Zoom, or like his phone was far away from him. It didn't sound exactly like Bob Huggins. But then with Huggins coming out with the statement, pretty much just clarified everything. So he did issue an apology. The university also sent out a statement putting out that the situation is under review and that they take the actions very seriously. So clearly, it was real. It was a real deal thing, and there is a decision that's going to be need to be made here in the coming days. This is something that cannot be swept up under the rug for the next few weeks or months. This has got to be taken care of now. And I don't know when a decision will come, but I mean, if you are Ren Baker, you've got to think this has got to come to resolve in the next 24 to 48 hours. Not only one for the PR side of it, but also for the basketball side. We we know that the seriousness of what he said is first and foremost the first issue that needs to be taken care of, but it's also the basketball side of it too, which can't get lost in this. If you decide to move on from Huggins, what do? You're late in the process. All these schools that fired their coaches and had a coaching search, they already got their guys, right? So you're getting into the coaching carousel extremely late, and you have to make that decision. If we fire Huggins, do we as and I'm speaking as if I'm Ron Baker, do we promote from within, and what does that look like? Or do you go and go through that coaching search? And if you promote from within, I don't know where it would go. There's not a whole lot of head coaching experience on his staff. You have DeMar Johnson, who just came to staff this year and doesn't have a whole lot of coaching experience. You have Jake Kuntz, who has done a really good job recruiting the portal and also the high school ranks. He's kind of climbed the ladder in terms of what he's done at WVU. He's been at WVU for a long time, but he's not been a head coach. And you also have Ronnie Everhart, who does have some head coaching experience. But again, what is that? How much does that weigh into this whole situation? So it's a tough call for Ren Baker. Welcome to West Virginia, Ren. I mean, man, he is definitely in for it. Outside of baseball going extremely well, it's a tough job to have right now, because obviously the football team is, we all know about that situation, and it's going to be a make or break year for potentially make or break year for that head coach and Neil Brown. And then you have the unexpected happen here with Bob Huggins, and now you're having to deal with this. So, and oh yeah, you also had to hire a new women's head basketball coach. So it's been quite an active first few months for Ren Baker on the job. And look, my take on it is simply this: what Bob Huggins said is completely wrong. Can't say it. You just can't say it. I don't care if it's 2023, it's 1973. Can't say it. Obviously, today it's a bigger issue, 100%. But it doesn't make what he said right at all, just because, or it doesn't make the situation better or whatever, even if he didn't know that he was on air. Maybe the phone broke up and he didn't hear where he said he was on air. It doesn't matter. That what he said, whether he knew he was on air or not, cannot be said. It's unfortunate. It's a very, very bad look, and I get it. There's two sides to every story, and there's also a lot of people on either side of this. A lot of people are saying he should be fired. A lot of people are saying that, you know, it's whatever, and that it's just words. And I get both sides of it. To me, everybody has scars, right? Everybody says things and does things that they wish they didn't do and wish they didn't say. And for Huggins, this is one of them, without a doubt. Is it something that he should be fired for? That's above my pay grade, quite frankly. I mean, it's above my pay grade, but if I was Ren Baker, I would dig into all the facts of the situation, which Ren will undoubtedly do, and figure out whether or not this is something that he should be fired for. To me, I think if this was directed, now he was talking about the Xavier fans, but if this was directed personally at somebody, a singular person or a clear identified group, not just a bunch of people that you don't know who he's really talking about, you just know it's this group of fans, if he was directing these words at somebody, I think it would be a little bit more clear as to what's probably going to happen or what would happen. Since it was directed just at the fans, and it seemed to be just like a playful conversation, even though again it's hard to call that playful. Um, I don't know that it's a fireable thing. Um, I think it's definitely a suspension again with maybe a fine, suspension without pay. I don't. I think it's got to be something of that. You know, regardless, if he's not fired, it's going to be that. You can't just have nothing happen. One of the two has got to happen. But it's a tough look for Bob Huggins for West Virginia, and some people were saying, you know, it's that it's just words and stuff like that. But again, man, like you can't say that stuff nowadays. And you're a head coach at a major university, at a major basketball program with a lot of history and tradition. You can't say these things, man. Like you just can't do it. And again, I don't know why those words were said. Maybe there's something that we don't know. Again, going back to maybe he didn't know he was live on air. I don't know, but it's not something that should be just brushed under the rug. Something's got to happen, whether it's the university parting ways or suspending him. Something's got to happen. One of the two. Can't have neither happen, but we'll see. I don't really know what else to say about it because it's just so mind blowing. Like to see this actually happen. Like we had heard about it for what 2 or 3 hours almost. Nothing had come out. It was just that one tweet from that one person. I think it was actually a meteorologist. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to go back and look, but for that to be the only thing about it for like 2 or 3 hours, and you see no audio and no transcripts of it or anything, it's really weird. And then all of a sudden it comes out, you hear the video, and you're like, oh my gosh, like did he really just say it? And it's mind blowing. But we'll see. There's been coaches out there that have done far, far, far worse, and we're right back into a head coaching job. Not even a year later, and sometimes didn't even get fired. There's several cases of it around the country where there were coaches that clearly got caught for illegally recruiting and paying players. How do you weigh that versus what Huggins did? I don't know. That's not my decision. That's Ren's call, and that's the university's call. But again, that's not to say what Huggins did is any less or anything like that. But it's a very, very, very unique situation, and I I just don't know what else to say about it. I really don't. So we'll keep an eye on it. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Mountaineers Now, and you can follow me on Twitter at Callan_. We're going to have full coverage of this thing over the next few days. If anything happens, we will be here to respond and react to it. And we will have our show with Eugene tonight, the Relatively Sports show every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I'm actually going to be joining him this week. He couldn't find anybody else better. So I'm going to be on the show this week. We're going to talk, I think, NFL draft and some other stuff. So be sure to tune in for that at 6 o'clock tonight. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube, Mountaineers Now. And we'll see you guys later tonight. Take care.